I remember Mother as being a very benevolent, somewhat distant presence in my very early life. Even in those early days, I got a sense of Mother's treatment of everybody as equals. She never distinguished between African Americans and white people. She was always sincerely committed to trying to help anybody that was very poor or in need or sick or suffering in the way from loneliness. She would tell all of us children, do your own thing. Don't be deterred by criticism. And don't be afraid to take a chance on doing something that seems impossible if you think it's important.
She was non-traditional in the way that she felt about things. And back then, women just had babies. They took care of the house. And she did lots of things that traditional women were not doing back then. I don't think everybody has mother-in-law like I had.
She really relished life. So she was almost immune to criticism. She was as famous as I was, I guess.
Even at her funeral, people were telling Miss Lillian stories. People who knew her there in Georgia came from miles around. Not because her son was president either. It was for her.
I miss her. She was part of my life for such a very long time.
I think she would say, I lived my life to the fullest. I took advantage of all the talent and ability that God gave me, and I did the best I could.
Would you welcome, please, Miss Lillian Carter.
Good afternoon and good evening, wherever you are in the world. Joining me today is a very special guest. I've been wanting to have her on the show for a long time. I've had the great honor of working with her alongside of her. She is a director, multifaceted, to say the least, producer, documentarian, photographer, and a very, very close friend. I'm very honored to say that. She is on the show today because she has a film that's just been released, and I want her to talk about it. I want her to share with you who she is, and talk about the film itself and how she created it. And she's going to bring on her team today to talk about it. I spent last night watching the film, and then I went to sleep and I dreamt about the film. And then I woke up this morning at 5 a.m. and watched it again, which says a lot. It's beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen of Antoinette and Friends, please welcome Vivian Winther. Hi! We're doing it! Welcome, Vivian.
God, we did it! We did it! I know, we're together.
Welcome. I was actually
I'd rather be actually where you are together, but this is
yeah.
good.
So this is as good as it gets for the moment, and we will be together soon.
I know.
As I was thinking about how to bring you on the show, I remember the first meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And when I heard you talk, I went, oh, what an intelligent, tuned in, sensitive, broad stroke intelligence person. And I was intrigued immediately, and I was like, oh, I think I have somebody that I want to know better. And I'm so happy to say that I know you better. And it's been a great pleasure to get to know you. So congratulations.
Oh my God.
Incredible.
Thank you so much. It was such a beautiful journey. And it, again, like meeting you, Antoinette, a wonderful surprise that has enhanced my life. There are those moments in your life when you meet people or when you've been called to task to do something, and then you meet more people that, you know, it's always about something else. It's never really just about what you're actually creating or making. It's for me, and I know for you as well, it's always about the effect that you're having and the effect that you're receiving from other people. So that's the extra added sauce in directing this film, hopefully in relationships that we cultivate with each other. But definitely that's the secret sauce. That's really it, because it's about the stuff you don't see, that brings out the stuff you do see.
Yeah, you are behind the scenes, you're a documentarian, and I think that's probably why you do that, is because you see the story behind the story. And that's what makes this film so powerful. And as a woman, who she was, okay, so
Oh my God.
just give me how it happened, and because that is an interesting story.
Well, it was a night in Paris.
It was
That's really how it happened. I mean, not a night in Paris, but it was Stephen Alden who produced the film. We met in a cafe in Paris. I was introduced to him by our mutual friend, Ingrid Rockefeller, and they had done a play together, great play called Loose Lips a few years back, and maintained a great friendship. And so she introduced me to him, and we had a wonderful breakfast. And many months later, I ended up in Paris, and he said, well, I'm in Paris too. So we ended up having a dinner, and he was speaking to me about this beautiful stage play that he had been working on and with Carol Swarbrick and Jim Dries. And he was saying, God, I would love to put this to film. And so he's speaking to me about all this. So I'm thinking he needs me maybe to produce it, maybe get some money for it. So I'm like, oh, sure, no problem. Like, I think the scooters were going by. It was loud. It was, right. So we part. And 3 months later, he calls me in Los Angeles, and he's like, so? And I'm like, yeah, I'm working on it. I have some people who are interested. And he said, in what? And I said, well, with money, I don't want you to produce it. I want you to direct it. And I was just like, you want me to do what? And he said, yeah, I wanted you to direct it. I wasn't asking you to go do anything. I already have it. I got it all. Like, I want you. So it was really one of those moments again where I was like, kind of like, what? And then there you go. So that's how it came to me. But then we had this meeting we met again at lunch in California. And I said to him, I really feel very strongly that we need to get former President Jimmy Carter involved in order to make this what I would like to see, which would be a version of a call-in response between Carol's character, which is his mother, and himself. So I believe we achieved that in moments, but
you did.
Yeah.
You did. And I also want to say, too, that it had your hand, the hand of Vivian, from the very beginning, because I just loved the texture. I mean, that's how you shoot as a photographer, and as a filmmaker, but it had the texture of the Deep South, and the music, and it just sort of set it up that we were there and we could feel what that was like, and the teacup and the curtains and how they were moving, and just beautiful that way. So, and how long has it taken? And how did you decide on? I'm always fascinated. How did you decide on the name of the film?
Well, Miss Lillian was the title. More Than a President's Mother. It was basically, the play was had that name, and so we took from that. At first, it was Miss Lillian, and we thought that would be the way to go. But we really needed to sort of incorporate the fact that it was this call and response between this wonderful man, which was her son. And then we filmed it in 5 days.
You did?
In the actual home in 5 days. We went to Plains, Georgia, which is where they lived. And the house we filmed in is their home. It was their nuptial home. It was a Sears and Roebuck's put together home that they put together, which I wanted to move in. It was like, move in ready. We're the Sears and Roebuck's homes now, So that was his actual bedroom. It was their home. That was exactly the setup of where Jimmy had his own room at one point.
I mean, amazing that the actor gets to be in the home. I want to know what Carol's experience of
that was so, just full of goosebumps the whole time. You showed up, and that was another extra piece that was there. You had the history in the wood, in the fireplace, and the clocks, and everything, the stove.
They were the extra characters. They were characters in the film.
Definitely. Yeah, so it was 5 days in Plains, Georgia. We were so well received in the town. Um, we were, they just gave us everything. And that was because of Jim and Carol's relationship with many people there. And they had met President Carter before. Obviously, he had to give us permission, and he did really because of Carol and Jim, and also because of Stephen's beautiful letter and the letters that we all wrote, and the play that came before that they knew about,
Right.
and very much loved and felt very celebrated by that. And also he had, his relationship with his mother was so special. One that you and I both know, certainly with our kids, right? And
Mhm.
you're blessed to have that. And
Yes.
you see him light up in a way that I've never seen a man or anyone really light up like that. When you just mention his mother, he tells the joke, and then he's just like, yeah, my mama. Like what? This is the sweetest, most endearing moment that I'm watching right now, with this man who recalls everything in detail, speaks so eloquently, and is completely heartfelt. And obviously I felt that way about Rosalind as well, and Tommy Lasorda. Oh gosh. And
Yeah.
Sam Donaldson and everybody else that played a part in it.
Yeah. Sam Donaldson, that was amazing when she was talking about how she went around to all the trailers, NBC's, and had a little something, something. I will tell Carol that I really felt like I knew who she was.
Yeah.
I really felt connected. And as a woman, and as a mother, and as somebody who, tries to love all, and in a
Yes.
time when that really wasn't happening, I mean, you really have to pause and say the spirit of that woman and
Yes.
how she loved. She didn't see color, she didn't see status.
No.
I mean, truly amazing for
Truly
the time,
amazing. Truly
right?
amazing. And you hear the testimonies of the women who were still around, actually the few that are still around that knew her that
Yeah.
way. Speak of her stopping by their home and turning over family members who needed it. And yes, it
Yeah.
was the Black community. And no, they really were not to be involved in this way. And that just wasn't her belief system.
I
And I
mean,
really
showing
feel,
up and
regardless
taking
of what
care of.
era she would have been in, she would have been that person,
Yeah.
as she would have been that person holding up, the signs, or more than that, going in there and just doing the work and rolling up her sleeve. Um, she was exceptional in every way, but there was a big dichotomy there too. I mean, she loved gambling and she loved drinking, and she
But
hung out
that's
with
what
Frank
she was
Sinatra.
abroad,
She
she
was
was a true
abroad.
broad. She loved to go to Vegas.
She would
I
have been
mean,
our friend. Let's put it to you
I mean,
that way. We would have been friends with Miss
I
Lillian.
totally,
Oh my
totally.
God, little nip, little nip.
I thought it was great. And I also, something about, I feel like we should bring Tyler on because I want to also just
Oh,
talk about
yes.
the mother and son aspect, because
Yeah.
it was so palpable throughout the film. And the fact that she would leave
Yes.
notes. She would leave a note every day of what they
Yeah.
needed to
Yeah.
do. And that table became mother, which is
So
amazing.
great. It's so amazing.
It is so amazing. And
It's
that,
so amazing.
and that also, she wasn't around,
No.
is sad too, that she
Mhm.
really had to work so hard. People have to work so
Mhm.
hard in order
Mhm.
to support, their
Yeah.
families, women in
I mean, and
particular.
she really needed to split herself up because her consciousness was that of, you have to help everybody. Okay, so yes, my family's safe, they're good, they're healthy, wonderful. I've done my day job as a nurse in the hospital, but I have to go now at night and help these people
Right,
who
right.
have to get up at 4 a.m. to work these farms,
Which set the stage for the 39th president of the United States, didn't it?
Right. Totally.
Right? I
I
mean,
have
what
to
about
really, I have to go to task and thank Alex Hastner, who did a beautiful job. Talk about texture, talk about it. I mean,
I
Alex,
mean,
and he would
honestly,
love
he's
to have been here
amazing.
today.
Yeah.
He and I have this, shorthand with each other, and Tyler as well, and Bishop, who was there doing the sound. We would just kind of look at each other and we would know what was needed. And Tyler was running around doing second camera as well, and he and Alex had this shorthand as well. So it was just, the scenery was there. It was beautiful. No set decorating really required, but texturally and the tone of everything. And Steve Rodriguez at Apache Color, just coloring her. My wish was to have her be desaturated, almost like the ghost she was through
Yeah,
it.
and you achieved that. You absolutely achieved that. That's what it
And
felt
then-
like.
And then we had John Van Donger, who came in for music, and that was my favorite part. He would have loved to have been here too. So, but
It's so good, Viv. It's so good.
sitting
I'm proud of
around
you.
with that other layer of music that comes in, the other voice, the sound that, you know, that isn't words but gives you
The sound of the
balance.
soul. The
The
sound of the soul.
soul. Thank you.
I
Yeah.
always think of music as the music of the soul. And
Right.
so when
Right.
you're feeling ways and you don't know what you're
Mhm.
feeling and you have no words for the feeling,
Right.
a piece of music allows you to
Right.
feel it, right?
To
And get
feel
it
it.
out.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like when you turn the music off of movies sometimes when you're at home, it doesn't have that thing. Like you miss it, you know? So
I also
he
feel
did a
that way
magical job.
too about the HD, when is it high def? When you see things, so you know, it just takes so sort of away because we don't
Yes.
experience life that way. Yes, we can
No.
see everything, but we're involved in the
Differently.
living of life, so we're
Yeah.
kind of coloring it with our lens, right? So I
Exactly.
really enjoy
Well put.
film.
Well put. Well
Yeah.
put. But it was a total joy and a total honor to work with Carol. She was, as I've said many times to her and in other places, there was no directing required. The script
Amazing.
was solid. This woman, this actress extraordinaire. I mean, all of it was in her. You know, you could move things around though, because with film you have to move it around. It's not a play, so I could take chunks and move it and take something out and put this here and there. And she had every ounce of dialogue. We did maybe.
I
2
loved her
takes each
hands.
thing.
It was great to watch her hands. Yeah, I realized after doing that, watching the film at night and watching in the morning was probably a way that I will move forward in the future because I loved it blending with my sleep and in my
Mhm.
unconscious was lovely.
Right.
I ended up
Right.
dreaming about her. So, you know, maybe I
Right.
go within the
Right.
spirit.
You found a thing, a rhythm, a different rhythm to watching pieces.
Totally, and I need a little wind down time. Let's bring on Tyler. I
Let's
would
do
like-
it. Let's do it. Oh my God. Now he's going to like, whoa.
Hey guys.
Whoa, Mr.
So you
Winther.
guys, this is Tyler Winther, and Tyler is Vivian's son,
Hi.
and a man on his own. He actually
Yeah.
is a human being on his own right. And Tyler has grown up in the film business and has been
Yep.
on a set since
Oh yeah.
as early
Since
as
he
you
was in
can
my
remember.
room.
Since he was in your room, exactly. You want to tell us a little bit about what you do, because everybody wants to know across the world what you do and how you do what you do, and then we'll talk about the experience.
Fabulous. So for all intents and purposes, I'm a filmmaker, but for this purpose, I was an editor and cameraman. But yeah, I mean, I started in the industry. I was super young, was approached to be a child actor. I turned that down. Decided no thanks.
Many times.
Yeah. Passed on that. But then, I don't know, when I was like 15, I started working at the studios, just doing a little, working in copy rooms, doing all that kind of stuff. And so I've seen the film industry from every angle you could see it from.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm a freelance editor, filmmaker for hire. I do work with different production companies as well. And so, yeah, kind of if I can have an opportunity to make a film, I'm going to take it.
I could feel when we started working together, I was just like, it was such a feeling of a formidable feeling of to be surrounded by people who really know how to make a film, and to watch you, may I say, and to watch you with my own son, because we were all sort of working together. My son works with me, you work with Vivian, and I thought this is really such beautiful symmetry here. And also you just know, I've been around the film business since, I don't know, 16. You just know when you're in capable hands. And so you guys came in to work with Norman Seif, and thank you that you did with Ingrid.
Yeah, I love you guys.
Who could be here. But also, I just feel very, very grateful to be able to work with you. And I appreciate so much that that as mother and son, you're able to work as equals and contemporaries. It never felt, it doesn't feel that way with my son too. When you get on set, it's just like we're all working together. I know.
Well,
know.
it started early, Antoinette. It started early with us because, if he wanted my attention, I was, he was on a baseball field and I was talking to moms or doing whatever. He'd be like, Viv. And I turned around and he said, Viv. But if he said mom, well, there were like a million moms, So
Yeah, exactly.
on set, it really was, my name is Viv. Like, he just called me Viv now when we work together. So it's like, oh, Viv, what do you think about this? Viv, what do you think about that? So
It's so amazing.
Creates this difference.
That's cool.
Attractive thing to be able to
Yeah.
have that relationship with your son, and tying it together with Jimmy Carter and his mother, and how how your relationship with your mother is primary, and if you
Mhm.
have a renegade mother and a mother who is just for everyone, like you are, like I am, it creates a little bit different of a human being, I think, and an awareness within the child of others. In a way they may not be if they didn't have that. But
Right.
your work, beautiful editing. I
Thank you.
was telling your mom, I just really loved it. I loved it more than I thought I would even,
Right.
and I loved
Right.
Jimmy Carter. I loved who he was. I remember
Yeah.
he was the first president I actually remember.
Right.
Don't know
Right.
why, but I remembered how kind he was. And I think in some ways people thought his kindness was, I don't know if people mistake kindness for weakness or somehow.
All the time.
They do, and they're silly to do so with certain people.
Very foolish.
When you're strong, you can be kind.
You can. You can.
It gives you the opportunity to be more kind.
Yeah.
But anyway, can you tell us just a little bit about your experience of working on the film and how long it took, and I don't know, anything you want to share with us about the process?
Certainly. Yeah, from an editing standpoint, that was about a year process after all was said and done. So there was a lot of different back and forth, many different cuts, a lot of different stock footage that would come in. Then we had to switch it out. There'd be something better that we'd find, or we'd have to work within a budget constraint to be like, all right, we can only get so much. So from there, you had to figure out, okay, well, the biggest thing was understanding the tone of the film.
Right.
And we pretty much settled on what made the most sense was, a lot of the pieces you see, if it's not true crime in the documentary space, if it's not true crime, or if it's not like, I feel like everyone's trying to do takedowns or hidden truths or show the ugly underbelly of this amazing thing we all thought was so great. And it's like, well, where's the counter programming to that? Where's something that just
Tyler?
Where's something that just feels like a warm hug? It's like this documentary could easily have been about the mother of a president who's a gambler in the South, and look at all these people she hung out with in the South. It's like, why? Like this, she did that. It makes her a three-dimensional person, but you don't have to find the ugliness in everything.
We're trained to do that now. We're trained to look for the underbelly because it's what we've been fed for so long. But how beautiful to not unnecessary.
There's no reason to do that with a piece like this, because we looked really nothing that crazy. If you're really talking about it, there's really nothing that was really that scandalous or anything like that.
Yeah.
So we're just
controversy.
Like, why?
Really. Except for what she did.
Except for
what she was doing.
What she actually did was controversial in the moment.
Exactly.
But in a good way.
So technically, in a way, if you were to transport this film back to the 60s, this would be one of the most controversial, craziest documentaries of all time. But because we live in what we actually created, one of the most salacious things you'll ever see in 1966.
True.
Yeah.
Totally
but
salacious.
Today,
that's so true.
It feels like a warm hug, and just showing the goodness of something, and showing a person that people loved pretty much unanimously from many different walks of life. And why not just kind of, as you're flipping through your feed, why not just go look at an amazing person and listen to the people who loved her most say how much they loved her. And maybe it makes you, not only do you learn something, but you feel good and you come away hopeful. I don't know why, that just was like, that's what we should do.
That was the stance we took when we were cutting it.
Yeah.
Definitely. And it's funny because I was saying to Tyler, one of the things that I do, actually I didn't, well, we had some great moments together. We got to know each other very well.
Wait, what?
with Tyler when we were editing together, there were moments he'd be like,
What did you
"Mom,
get? Tense
or Viv,
moment?
what?
Uh-huh.
Like, do you want like this or do you want this?" I said, I don't know. And then I'd give him a color, I'd be like, maybe something a little more like pale pink or,
And
He's
how
like,
did you
what?
deal with that? How did you deal with that? Because that's a feminine kind of way.
I'm very
Yeah.
esoteric as I
Yeah.
put
Right?
things. It's not. So then he finally at one point said, "Oh, I get it. I get it."
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
It
And
took,
then
it took
he
me
was
a, it took me a
feeling his
couple
way
weeks.
to cutting it,
Yeah.
as opposed to only technically cutting it.
Yeah, it was all, the cut was done like almost entirely on feel, but the structure of it came thankfully because there was the script
Yeah, Jimmy
that was
Carroll.
there for the stage play that Jim and
I'm
Carol
sure you
were
were grateful for
put
that.
together. Very grateful for that because that gave me something to base on, and that gave us something to work with, and we could create a linear version of the film purely based on the script, so we could do a script cut, and that got us started. And then once we got there, then we could start doing I think this should be more light pink, and that should be purple, and that should,
You could
and I was like,
then go
okay,
there rather
yeah,
than
so,
starting
okay,
there.
yeah,
I have a
exactly.
feeling that a little more
Yeah.
of this, a little less of that.
Isn't it beautiful the way
Yeah.
females and males
It's
communicate?
fascinating. Yeah.
It's fascinating,
Yeah,
and we
fascinating.
all have both, and
Yeah.
hopefully we can balance them more, and then we'll be incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I love about the film is that it's really it's where I live, or I try to live. It's so the humanity in
Yeah.
us all, and we've lost a lot of that. We've lost it because we're so busy trying to stay alive. And then you've fed so much media that is counter to our focusing on all of our humanity with each other. And I really think that human beings are much more loving and supportive, and unprecedented amounts of love is what we show for each other. And it's all even shown in how we give money across the world. We'll wire money. We'll take care of each other in ways, and we don't focus on that so much, and we should. And this film does.
Yeah.
And so I'm really
positive film.
My whole community to go out and purchase it, download it, and especially my angel community, because truly Miss Lillian is the original angel,
She's the OG. She's the OGA. The OG angel.
Absolutely. So it's beautiful, y'all, and it's also like it's a film. It has gravitas to it. It's not just this. So when you see documentaries and this is just like this gorgeously edited. It's like it's music. It's like music.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's like a feature film because there's this act. Obviously, it's a drama too. It's acted out by somebody. So you have a script. You had this. It was a split. It isn't straight documentary where there's just talking heads. You actually had a full performance by somebody, amalgamated into these conversations.
Yes.
And I mean, again, I'll even go to Kaylee, who came in as our associate producer. She was amazing too. Like we did a million things, as like the curtains that were blowing as you spoke about. It was her computer or her clipboard or a hat.
I noticed it.
Fan,
I totally noticed that. Yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah, and it looks big budget. It looks like a big budget. I don't know what your budget was, but it looks. I mean, that's when you have really talented hands on it.
Yeah.
You
can make it look big.
You make it look good, yeah. I'd love to bring on Carol. Tyler, I'd love you to stay if you want to stay on. Let's bring on Carol and Jim, because they're sitting next to each other.
Amazing Carol
hi!
and Jim.
Hi! First of all, bravo and brava. So beautiful. Beautiful. I was telling Vivian, I don't know if you were listening, I was sort of fascinated with your hands and the reality of how she was living through your hands. And quite beautiful. And I really went to sleep with you, and then I slept with you in my dream. And the tone and the beauty of your voice, and anyway, it's just beautiful. And I hope you really feel good about your performance.
I want to say something about how you just expressed that. I mean, Tyler and Vivian and Stephen have created this film that is very intimate. You slept with her. Yes, you know, there's an intimacy, a reality that that they put on film. You know, we can experience that in live theater because you're breathing the same air, you know.
Beautiful, yes.
But on film, they have created this, and what a joy to have this dream of ours to tell the story of this remarkable woman to, you know, potentially millions of people on film. That it's a reality.
Right.
Yay!
Right.
Congratulations to you all, Jim.
Thank
Co-writer.
you. I'm great.
Co-writer. Beautifully written.
Love to see the energy that's here this morning, especially between you and Vivian. You're like two energy bubbles. You're just so great. And when you talk about with Miss Lillian, I get to sleep with her every night.
Oh, you're a lucky man you are. Yeah,
Lucky person.
well, I do feel, I have to say, I do feel, Jim, that the film, I was just saying to Tyler and Vivian, the film is so rich and so textured and layered. And I felt very much in the writing of it. It just felt very, I'm getting chills, so I know I'm saying something I'm supposed to be saying. You know, there's such a level of intelligence. You know, they're smart, but intelligence is vast. It uses the intelligence of the ethers to bring it through. And that's what I felt like this film did. It carried with it her energy, and it brought me through to the time. I felt like I was in the Deep South, just watching the hands and also the glow around you. It was just magnificent, magnificent. And I hope all of my community takes this piece, and they will, because they will, and floats it out into the world so that the world can, it's not only about that she was the mother of Jimmy Carter, it's that she was a woman ahead of her time, a human being, let's even go say, not a woman, a human being who really cared about others and didn't see those lines. I'm getting chills again. It's like the time has come when we have to recognize that we are all the same. I mean, we are. It sounds so cliche, but to know that she, in that environment, felt empowered enough in herself to go out and care for the world, whoever she encountered. Powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. Yeah.
And as far as the film goes, I'm learning a lot this morning listening to the discussion that occurred before we came on. Your point about the people in the film are the characters in the film. They're mentioned, but unlike almost every other program I've seen related to the Carters, there are a lot of talking heads. My training was as a historian, and it's to go out and to get a lot of material, but you bring it alive when you actually talk to people that experienced what you're talking about. I went to Nepal in about an event in the 1950s, and I talked to former prime ministers, people that were in China. I was able to talk to people that are not alive today and make that real. I did graduate work at the University of Hawaii on my master's degree, and I talked to the librarian about James Michener, who had just come out with Hawaii. And I asked how much time he spent in the library. And she said, he spent very little time. He went out and interviewed the people. He went out and talked to the people who he was writing about. And that's what this film does. It's not talking about somebody who did research, who's written a 900-page book. It's with the people that were living with Miss Lillian. And it became alive. And I was so impressed hearing how the script was used to bring it all together. And Vivian and Tyler, they just had such an incredible sense of what this story was about. And
yes,
and I thank you for your praise. I thank you for watching it twice. That is astonishing and affirming. And thank you for this opportunity to talk.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I have chills all up and down my body. Because as you were talking, I was also thinking, you know, what you were saying about Vivian, Tyler, and I I keep hearing this word that comes up a lot for me now. It's called resonance, right? When I was sitting at the Harvest Table picture dinner table, which is one of the first moments really that I met Vivian, and I'm sitting and Tyler walked in and I went, you know, big, like his aura walked in before he did, you know, and this, seriously, resonance, right, around him, because he's aware. When people are aware, they carry with them a certain energy. And I'm saying that to you, Jim, because you have that energy, so does Carol. And because of how then you interview those folks, you bring your resonance with their resonance, and it translates differently in the word, in the written word and in the spoken word. And, you know, and further to that, you see, you know, Sam Donaldson, his first name Sam, and he's talking about her. It's like, I totally understood that her going to the church, like I was there with him because he experienced it firsthand. So it's magnificent. And I think
still one of the things that gets all of us, I think, is the present tense that Tommy Lasorda speaks of his love for Lillian. That for me just cracks me up. Like literally, I just will bawl when I watch it. You know, because
especially somebody like him, right?
I know.
Yes.
I know. He closed Dodger Stadium down for us. He walked in with some assistants, but as soon as he saw the setup, he broke away from the assistants and walked in proud and sat down for this beautiful interview, and culminating with, you know, I love her. You know, that's eternal. That's a whole other kind of love.
I mean, think about it. We're sitting here on this Thursday morning. Is it Thursday? Thursday morning?
Thursday
morning. Wherever we are, and we're having a conversation, and we're honoring this incredible woman who lives on. It's like a ripple effect. You know, people don't realize, you know, this world is not that big, you know, obviously. Look at how quickly one funky. I'm going. Oh, she's going.
She's New York, right here.
How we're connected to each other. I mean, you see how a virus can spread across. I mean, that's how connected we are. So one act of kindness is not just one act of kindness. It just, it has its weight. And I'm just bring it back to Lillian Carter. I mean, she really, she had an impact, clearly, because we're talking about her today. I want to know, tell me just a little bit of, because, you know, I'm fascinated by the backstory. How did you get it to be released? What is that process like? And who of you are involved in that process?
Well, probably Stephen.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, Stephen. We were the ones who put it together, gave him a package of something to sell.
Is Stephen coming on?
Yes, he should be.
Stephen!
Hi.
Questions.
Hi, Antoinette.
About the answer to the question. So, like, let's just bring Steve on.
Well, first I have to say, there are two women without whom this film wouldn't exist, Carol and Vivian. And what hasn't been discussed yet is, you know, she talked about the call and response. Vivian is a genius at getting people to be comfortable. We were required to tell President Carter and Mrs. Carter what questions we would ask. And we stuck to a script, but she got them so comfortable that she gave them a surprise question at the end. And Viv, you tell, what was the question?
Well,
the last one.
You know,
to President
if
Carter.
your mother could write her own eulogy right now, what do you think she would say?
That's
and
right.
he really was, and it was interesting, Antoinette, you'll appreciate this, and you noticed it probably in the visual. There was, I think there was light, and then the truck, something drove by the big window in front, and as soon as he came to, oh, I've never asked that question before, it's like the light shined on his face, like out of nowhere, and he had this beautiful answer, you know. I believe my mama would say.
That's the gems.
And that's
what
I
wanted to ask,
Vivian, that's what you did.
I asked everybody else, except Rosalind too. Rosalind we had a different parlay with each other, and she was very open and very emotional, just being in the space. Talk about two very aware human beings and very sensitive beings. But every other person that I interviewed they were close to her, the question was, except for Sam, was, you know, if this lens was a direct feed to where she is right now, what would you like to say to her? And it just really, it was like if they were open, then they were wide open. And they were able to be vulnerable for her.
But that's because you created that trust level.
I would say that Steve, knowing you for the short amount of time, I photographed me, and I was like taking my clothes off. What are we doing? You know, I mean, I've never been so comfortable.
I did.
Taking my clothes off, Jim. I really haven't, Jim.
Common occurrence in my studio with
I mean, I was like, okay, what do we do? I just felt like that I could feel myself and be vulnerable with you, and I didn't even know you. So I would say you have that, and it's beautiful, especially as a filmmaker and a documentarian. It's beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much.
But the entire thing really started with Carol, who I used to be the producing artistic director of a major regional theater in Southern California. And she and I did, I don't know, half a dozen or more shows together because she is the consummate performer.
Yes, indeed, she is.
And then she and Jim moved up to the state of Washington, and we were out of touch for some years. And she called me and she said, "Hi, I hear that you've produced a bunch of one-person shows," which was a truth. I did several, including a couple for Nora Dunn of Saturday Night Live fame in the mid-'80s. And Carol said to me, "I have reached a particular age, and my friends, including both of my agents, have suggested that I write myself a one-person show." And she and Jim researched somebody that Carol, could connect with. And it turned out to be Lillian Carter. And so she pitched me. She said, "I need a producer. Would you be interested?" And I remembered Lillian Carter vaguely from her appearances on Johnny Carson, etc. But when she sent me the play, and I learned that she was a civil rights leader before that term even existed, when I learned that she volunteered for the Peace Corps at the age of 68 and served in India, because she said, you know, please assign me to a place where being white and being Christian will put me in the minority, because I think I'll learn more if the tables are turned on me. I realized this was a story that needed to be told. And my absolute faith in Carol as a performer cemented the deal.
Really.
And that's how it came.
Having Lillian there, you know, I mean, me, and I'm very sensitive being an actress to that, you know, and I obviously didn't know Lillian Carter, but it felt like, oh, we get to have her back from the dead, you know?
Yeah,
cool.
Right.
Antoinette,
right.
I will tell you that the first review we got, which was on Film Threat, said, "Carol does not just embrace Lillian Carter. She is Lillian Carter."
Right.
And that's a testament to a phenomenal actor.
Yeah.
Like a channeling, you know, like when people channel, that's like you allow
What is your process for that, Carol? I witnessed the effect, and I witnessed the parlay and the exchange between us when we were working together. But what is your actual feeling when you were there? What was that for you to get into that character? I never asked you that.
There's an important thing that I want to add to all of the adjectives that have been about Miss Lillian that made her. It was essential that her story be told because she was flawed.
Yeah.
She was not a perfect person, and yet she could make this. She could have this, as you have said, Antoinette, this universal impact effect, and can even more in our telling of her story. But you know, I had several years of performing the play, and visiting planes as many times as we did because we were invited by President Carter after he saw a video of the show.
What did that feel like?
He said, "What did that feel like?" I was numb. We got a letter after we'd sent the videotape of the to Carter Center. He's never going to see this.
So tell the whole story.
Yeah, I want to hear that. That's amazing.
Okay. It was when the show was very, very new, and we were doing a reading of it. It was 2 acts at that time. It went through many incarnations, and it was 2 acts. We're in this small town here in Washington State, and so this little theater, we're doing the show, and it's intermission, and this friend of mine comes back to my dressing room because there's not a door.
You dressed?
Yeah. I was, and she says, "There's somebody I want you to meet." I brought one of Lillian Carter's great grandchildren who lived in town. Who knew? Who knew? She's here in Squim. Yeah, you've heard of it. People in Squim. Okay, so anyway, this. I will say this with all gratitude and humility. After the show, there was a talk back, and she said, "I never had a chance to meet my great grandmother until tonight."
Oh
wow!
Yeah. Oh wow!
Oh wow!
And she
That's
said,
amazing.
"You have to videotape this show and send it to Uncle Jimmy." So I said, winking, "Sure. What's his address?" And just send it to the code. Okay, so that's what we did. We had another reading. We videotaped it. We sent it off to him. He sent this letter, and the envelope had no stamp on it. So I said, "This is a phony. This is all former presidents have to do is sign the envelope, and it's sent."
wow.
Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah, they don't have to pay.
Did not know that.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of like, well, here's your.
Well, I mean, I think that's kind of amazing.
That's
So wait,
beautiful.
you're saying that the envelope had his signature?
Is it? Yeah, yeah. Jim will.
I mean,
get,
that's amazing.
Jim will show you.
it's framed. It's framed. We have it here. So anyway, so I'm reading this and I'm shaking because the first line is telling me how he thoroughly enjoyed your delightful performance as my mother. Okay, and then went on to say, I would like to invite you and Jim to come to Plains and meet more of the family. So we did.
Come on.
Okay,
True.
so here's the envelope. You see,
Oh, wow.
Jimmy Carter in the
Just the sign, signature on top.
and that was 10 years ago. It's so great that he, like most people do, dated the letter. So we know how long ago that was. Anyway, so we went to Plains. We met him. It was his 87th birthday, and he teaches a Sunday school class. We had actually met him the night before. There was a concert given that was free, and it was in his honor. And after the conference, I thought, "Oh, I've got to meet them. I've got to meet them." And Miss Rosalind, Mr. President Carter was, of course, surrounded by his friends, but Miss Rosalind was at the end of an almost empty pew talking to somebody. And I thought, now's my chance. I'm going to scoot along the pew and just wait for her. And
Did some pew scooting?
Here we go. Carol swoops in.
She swoops in.
It's all in training. It's pew scooting. You're right.
Pew scooting.
So she got finished talking to that person and turned around. And I said, "Mrs. Carter, it's so nice to meet you. I do a play about your late mother-in-law." And she said, "Oh, well, you must be Carol. I'm so glad to meet you. Tomorrow, I'm going to show you her home. And Jimmy."
Oh.
And he leaves this group of friends and he's walking forward, and it just this Jimmy Carter smile on his face. I don't know where he got the Jimmy Carter smile, but he did. Anyway, he comes over and he extends his hand, and I said, happy birthday, Mr. President. And he said, oh, I know who you are. And then, so the next day in church, oh gosh.
I didn't know the protocol. So ridiculous. I have a copy of the book that he had written with his daughter, Amy. Right. I wanted to sign it for my granddaughter. And coaching with the book, and the service almost descended on me because I didn't know the protocol. We don't get this way. And he pushes the sort of with hand, pushes the Secret Service back. It's okay. And he signed it. And then later on, I realized what a Ramus I was. But
yeah, well, but you got it signed, Jim. You got it signed.
There you are.
It's on my granddaughter's shelf.
That's beautiful. So beautiful. And I do think, if I may say, I don't mean to sound airy-fairy, but there's serendipity happens. Things get orchestrated sometimes, and you go, how did that happen?
Oh, right.
Oh, right. But it did. And I think there's other forces at play that conspire to want the story to be told to the world. And
well, I have to say, oftentimes, even with Carol, when we were in specifically their master bedroom, the bedroom where you see Carol go through that beautiful dramatic performance with the wedding dress on the window, with the suit, and then her that when we were in there, I mean, throughout the whole house, specifically that room for me, I could feel her in that scene. Like I really felt her entity, her energy.
Therefore, we
coming up through the floorboards. I mean, Carol, you had that experience too? I'm sure of it throughout the whole thing.
Well, to be in that house, and to not have the velvet ropes across the doorway. Right. We were, I was on their bed.
Yeah.
I was on the bed she shared with Mr. Earl, and grieving and feeling his loss. And that's, it's so, pardon me, organic being there. And also
intimate. I mean, it's bed.
Right.
One of the things that stood out for me that I thought, oh, I love that. That she learned the father would go away for a couple of weeks. And she learned from that that you accept people for who they are, even if it hurts you.
Yes.
That's a very
gets me every time, Jim.
Yeah, a very important thing to take away for me, for sure, because you have to accept people for who they are, and then, it may hurt, but it's who they are. You have to.
Right. You have to.
You mentioned, if I may, channeling her energy, and Carol hasn't really mentioned this, but in the past she used to kind of do channeling for people and moved away from that much. But from what I picked up in the discussion here, I've heard reference to auras and whatnot, which I believe we all have an energy field. We all have something that's there. I can't help but feel when Carol was in that home and on that bed, Miss Lillian's energy was there, and Carol could bring it through. And even, it's been mentioned before, but in an interview earlier with Sam Donaldson, he also said, at the beginning of the film, I was watching Carol Swarbrick, but quickly I was watching Lillian Carter. I really forgot who the actor was. I saw the person. And that's a huge tribute from somebody who really knew her well.
And the other thing is, when those stanchions were moved, it's like she invited you in.
I love it. I love it all. Yeah. I love it all. And so will people. Tell us, I want to ask Steve one more question, and then I want you to tell the world where they find this amazing piece and how they get it. Steve, question. So how did you get Lillian and Jimmy? Like, what was the process of was it just a letter, or how did you get to them, and how did that happen?
Oh, this is a good story.
I thought it might be.
After Vivian and I had our dinner in Paris, and we talked about making a documentary. And at first, I think the thought was it'll be about the making of the play, shooting the play. And then I said, hey, what if President Carter was involved? And she said, of course. Or maybe she'd put proposed the idea. And there was that existing relationship that Carol and Jim had with President Carter. So in 2018, I sent him a birthday card. His birthday is October 1st.
Stamp.
I had to put a stamp on mine. Yes.
Right.
And I mailed him a birthday card. And in the card, I enclosed a letter introducing myself as the producer of the play I knew he was very familiar with. And I didn't really expect a response from that, but I got one. In what I have learned is his fashion. He photocopied my letter and hand wrote in the margin, "Please come to Plains. We would be delighted to meet you." And that was the door opener. And that's when I asked Vivian to write a letter, Jim and Carol to write a letter. I wrote a letter. I enclosed those 3 letters with a formal proposal asking would he be willing to participate? Would he sit for an interview for this documentary?
And it was very interesting, Stephen, too, because my letter I wrote about the love I have for my own son and the love that I see that he has for his mother still and always will. And it was very natural. And we've all had, these experiences.
I mean, this is a beautiful. I mean, the gifts keep coming. I knew I wanted to have you on the show, Vivian, and then then seeing the movie, and now you're all here, and I'm just very honored. Very honored.
Okay, if I just can finish, we sent the formal proposal in December of 2018. In February of 2018, Carol got a phone call that got forwarded to me, and I got a phone call from the final gatekeeper, the woman in the Carter organization who controls President Carter and Mrs. Carter's schedules. And she said, "I have a couple of questions for the sake of clarity." And it was a brief, maybe 10 minutes conversation. She said, "Great, I understand. I'm going to present this to the Carters this weekend." And Carol got a phone call, and then she called me at 7:03 a.m. on March 19th, the day before Carol's birthday, and said, "President Carter will sit for an hour interview. And following that, 15 minutes later, Mrs. Carter will sit for half an hour." On April 16th. That's 4 weeks to the day from the date we got the phone call. We had no pre-production. Thanks to Vivian and the incredible team that she had. Tyler, Alex Hessner.
I know.
Bishop.
I know them.
We got it together, and we flew to Plains. That's how it happened.
We did.
So thank you for sharing that. That's pulling it together and making it happen.
That's called jumping through hoops.
I love it. I love it. Amazing,
Just
y'all.
what we all do.
Amazing.
Daily.
Yeah, but not everybody does it in the way you do it. And this
Stephen's
film
exceptional at it. I mean, you really held our hands through all of this. It was you, Stephen. You really produced the heck out of this with no time, and you just always. There's just no really isn't in your vocabulary when you really get that juicy bone in your mouth, and take it.
Yeah.
And
but
you're someone that we can trust.
It takes a team.
For sure.
And
very well
it was
said.
all of us. It was you, Vivian, you, Tyler, you, Carol, you, Jim, Alex, Bishop, Kaylee, everybody.
Rodriguez.
John Van Tongeren,
who came in, as we're in post-production, to write that gorgeous score.
I know.
It's gorgeous. A character.
Well, the funny story.
And I remember our time sitting in Steve's studio and looking at the desaturated scenes with Miss Lillian and the fully saturated scenes with the interviewees, with Sam and Tommy and President Carter and Mrs. Carter.
Yeah. The little known fact was that I just had my foot surgery. And
Oh my God.
John is a dear friend. I've known him for 20 years, and he lives literally down the road, but I live on top of a hill. So I had a knee scooter to get me down the hill. So Stephen, this is the length he will go. He was standing in front of the scooter. Okay, then, all right, backing up. Okay, now there's a step. Okay, now there's, I felt like I might be a character in a Benny Hill sketch any minute, you know, like, off the hill she goes. But he was hanging on for dear life with me. I have full trust from day one to forever. I just let him help me get down the hill. Then we got in the car, got to John's, and I said, forget these crutches. I can't do the crutches, you know. So I literally crawled into the studio.
I wish I had taken a picture of that.
That's commitment. That's what they call commitment.
Oh my God. That
Absolutely,
was like the craziest, best, full effort.
It's all of you together that have
Yes.
made this possible. And Steve Rodriguez, and we're missing Alice. And, you know, I would like to maybe might go in and talk to them too and piece it together. I want to thank you all. I want you, whoever wants to say to all of my viewers, where they can find this film, how they can find it.
Stephen, you can speak to that.
Here's the link. It's
here's
the link. https://
yes
GENI.US. It's genius with a dot in the middle.
Okay.
/ Miss Lillian.
Okay.
So https.
So you're saying that that's where they get the film.
That's where the link is, but you can get it on.
And they then get the choice of 6 platforms.
Okay.
It's on Amazon Prime. It's on Apple TV. It's on iTunes. It's on Google Play. It's on Microsoft, and it's on Vudu.
So basically, they can just Google that, and it'll come up where they.
It will come up with the full title. You have to have the full title. Miss Lillian, More Than a President's Mother. But
I think it's actually Miss Lillian : More Than a President's Mother.
Is it?
Or it could be a dash. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's a dash.
We'll check it out. We have people for that.
We have ways.
You have people for
and
that.
by people, I mean Ryan, my producer. Ryan,
drop the link.
He's standing by. And you have given us everything that we need to float this out into the universe. I am honored and very grateful that you all took the time to talk to us at Antoinette and Friends. And
Antoinette, may I say that I just want to thank your fan base, your base, people who are going to be looking at this interview and watching this film. They are just very special, very dedicated, very loving, very open, wonderful people from what I can see when I look at your feeds and I watch the comments and just the love that's on your channel. And I just really appreciate them too. So thank you for having me.
They're going to love this story because they're a lot of my fan base, my audience are young women who are empowering themselves.
Antoinette, may I interject one very short story that really, I think, speaks to who Miss Lillian was. She met the Pope, and she told the Pope that she would have made a better Catholic than a Baptist because she liked to drink and gamble so much.
I love that. It's awesome. That's a great.
You have to be a little bit of both. I mean, it's balance, you know. Let's say the young women who are empowering themselves. Don't be just one thing or the other. Be it all.
Yeah. Be it all. Yeah. Well, Miss Lillian, wherever you are, we thank you. We honor you. Thank you for contributing such a big, important, beautiful energy and love to this planet. And I thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
I thank all of you and everybody else not here, and Antoinette for our friendship and for this beautiful event that you put together for this film. Beautiful.
My great pleasure. My great pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.